UFC's the battleground where warriors collide. Die Hard MMA podcast, we won't hide. Clint's gonna dig deep, analyze each brawl from the underdogs to the champions standing tall. The fury, let your instincts rise. Feel the adrenaline rush, it's time to defy. Die Hard MMA, we're in for the thrill. Get ready for the madness. Let's make that bankroll spill.
Happy Friday, degenerate gamblers. Welcome on back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. This is the undefeated post-weigh-in show. I'm mixing up my days. It has been that kind of week, degenerates. I apologize. Losing my mind already here on a Friday, but I'm okay because the work is done. The week is over. We're going to get some dinner. I'll take my girls out to get something to eat. We got fights tomorrow. So that's what we're doing here on this show, is putting it all in a nice little box. We're going to take all the information we've got from this entire week. We broke it all down on Monday. We talked to the boys. We watched the weigh-ins. We watched these fighters face off. We listened to the interviews, and then I bring all that information to you so you can make the best decisions possible and hopefully make some of that cash at UFC Vegas 103. Never a bad read on this show, baby. Never a bad bet. Not on the undefeated post weigh-in show. And you never know when that tinfoil cap is going to bust itself out and make an appearance. How is everybody doing this evening? Hope you are all well. My guy Ethan Hershey in the chat saying, whoa, Ethan, my boy, I will pull receipts, my dog. I've got all these videos saved. They are on the internet. I absolutely asked you to clarify which side of that bet you wanted and accepted on last Friday's show. So I better get those shots, my friend. Much love to you as always, my guy. Daniel from New Zealand, my dude, coming all the way from New Zealand to watch this show. Mac Jr., my guy, what is going on? Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy the undefeated post-weigh-in show. Frankly, it might be my favorite. You know, I got my whole podcast journey started with my Monday show, right? The Die Hard MMA podcast brought this all to life. That's what we're here for, okay? I got the best guest list in the entire game. I have so many awesome people who share their time and come on and talk fights with me, and I couldn't be happier discussing fights with those people. But I get to be more of myself on this show. I get to go a little crazy. It's just us 90% of the time. I get to hang out with my people in the chat, and we get to have a little bit of fun. It's a little more free flowing. It's not quite so rigid as far as like we gotta, do this, and that. So this show ends up it being my favorite most of the time. So I'm glad to hear you like it as well. And hey, if any of you guys are liking it, also do me a favor and hit that like button. That's the best way you can support me and get subscribed right here on the channel. DJN Kid says, big bro, we need some winning picks. Tell me about it. DJN. We absolutely need some winning picks. But hey, don't get me wrong though. We have gone 3 weeks in a row now, right? 2 weeks ago should have been a win. Most of you guys cashed on the call that I made that I forgot to bet myself. You guys probably won money that night, even though I lost. We got a +6 unit night wedged in there in between, and we only lost 1 unit last week. So you guys were right there. The ship is slowly starting to turn. We are absolutely getting there. Let's freaking go. A gross infection, my guy. Appreciate that. Poker player in the house, non-stop Philly. What is going on, my guy? Appreciate you making it here live as well. All right. Like I said at the top, if it's your first time watching this show, we watch the weigh-ins and we talk about how these fighters responded, who sizes up well, and there's a couple of surprises on this card as far as who sizes up. So let's get right on into it. First fight of the night. Unfortunately, everybody, we lost not one, we lost 2 fights on this card. Very, very, very upsetting. So for those of you guys who did watch the Monday show, if you follow me on social media, you know I went with the anchor this week. We've got anchor parlays. I will explain exactly what that means. But we lost Montana De La Rosa. That was one of our legs, unfortunately. The smallest of the legs. So I'm not too worried about it. But now I've got one of these weird lopsided bets where like I have a unit on a massive favorite, so it's going to return almost nothing when he wins. Hey, some return is better than nothing, right? So as long as our anchor hits, I'll take it. It's fine. But that extra plus money I was really looking forward to on the Montana De La Rosa side of things. My guy Art C, who was our guest on Monday, really convinced me to jump in on the dog side of that fight. So now we'll never know. It's unfortunate. But the first fight now is going to be Charles Johnson and Ramzan Timurov. We've got Timurov coming in at 125.5. Charles Johnson came in at 125 on the dot. As you can see, this man Timurov is not messing around. Absolutely jacked. My goodness, look at that. And look at his head. You know, I always talk about, like, we're not complaining about cheaters these days, guys, right? We're all on the cheating train. Like, if you're stealing an advantage and I can win money on you because you're stealing an advantage, that, like, I'm not throwing out too many accusations, but that looks like some HGH to me. You don't get a head like that, normally speaking. I feel bad for his mom. You've got our guy, Charles Johnson, my man, coming in great shape. I was listening to some of his stuff and looking at his social media. Apparently, he came in super light for this one. He came in like 3 pounds lighter than he normally does. He's getting in championship zone. He is more cut than he usually is. Big smile on his face. He's feeling good. When they face off, Charles Johnson rocking the skullet, obviously a decent bit taller than Ramzan Timurov. This is such a fun fight to me, you guys. So you know I've been in the Charles Johnson camp really strongly ever since he made it to the UFC. This just feels like a sell spot, man. So he gets into the UFC, takes a bunch of short notice fights, looks decent enough in all of them, but ends up giving some of them up, takes a couple L's, gets his shit together, takes some time off, gets healthy. That's really the big key here, is he gets healthy. And then we see what Charles Johnson really can do, and he's been nothing but impressive in his last couple of spots. And I love this guy. I want to see him do well. I want to see him in 5-round fights because that's where he really shines. But it looks like the UFC is kind of selling on a prospect they like a little better in this kind of spot. This is a scary opponent that he's facing here in Timurov. Someone who's not super well known, and the UFC is bringing him in against a fan favorite, popular type of guy that couldn't be hotter right now. Like, this just screams to me that the UFC is trying to set up a win for Timurov to get a big name on his resume. The problem for me is I'm not sure Timurov can keep pace with Charles Johnson. This kid Timurov has the nastiest nuclear hooks you guys have seen at this weight class. He hits hard. I've seen him in a couple 15-minute fights, though, and when he swings at air for the majority of the fight, when he can't get his opponent out of there, he slows down. I mean, there's a tax that comes with those kind of big, powerful strikes. And so Charles Johnson has got to extend this fight. He's got to pull this thing deep. He's got to bring this guy's gas tank into question, and he's got to take over the deeper this thing gets. I lean towards Timurov in this fight. I think he's going to swing the first and second round with big, powerful punches where, like, he wins those moments that makes the crowd go, ah, and the judges are going to kind of rely on those big, explosive shots. Charles Johnson could get this guy out of there in the 3rd round, potentially. I have donated so much of my money on Charles Johnson round 3 sprinkles. It kind of makes me feel a little dirty inside talking about it because only one of them hit, and it wasn't the one that I bet. So I got a bad experience betting on Charles round 3. But Charles Johnson round 3 is definitely something you guys can look at. Charles Johnson opened a slight dog, and he's now flipped to being a very serious favorite here. He's minus 135 at this point after opening up at like plus 120-ish. So in sports betting, that's a pretty dang big move. Like, that's some respected action that is moving him from dog to favorite in this spot. I am not betting Timurov. I'm picking Timurov to win. Now that the line has flipped, I'm not chasing steam on Charles Johnson. I understand there's smart people and sharp action on that side. I'm just going to watch. Guys, I think this is a perfect sit back, relax, fireball and popcorn, kick your feet up, enjoy the first fight of the night, because Timurov could make this thing look silly in round one. Timurov could nuke this guy and really announce himself as a UFC problem in round one. Or he could fail on that, get extended, and we see that Charles Johnson's cardio is what it was advertised on paper, and this guy isn't quite ready for that level yet. I don't know which one it's going to be. It's a coin flip price tag. I don't feel like I've got an edge. I'm going to pick Timurov and stick to what I said on Monday, but I'm not putting my money on this thing, at least not pre-flop. I don't mind looking at this thing for a live bet, you guys. I really don't mind looking at this for a live bet, because we will see Timurov fade if it gets extended, and you'll probably get a decent number on Charles Johnson after getting rocked pretty severely early in this fight, because don't get it twisted, that's going to happen. Win or lose, Charles is going to have to fight through some serious adversity early in this fight. So dog or pass for me, especially now that Timurov is the dog, and then live bet Charles Johnson or pass for me as well. That's the angle that I'm going to be looking at on this one. So no bet early on. My man, Ethan Hershey, that's what's up. All right. Appreciate it, man. I'll check it after the podcast. Absolutely. Rick the Ruler also noticing the height difference as well. Let's see here. Clint losing a bet against Charles Johnson again will never not be fun. I know. It's the zigzag. Sometimes you zigzag right, and sometimes you zigzag wrong. I have zigzagged so perfectly incorrectly on Charles Johnson that, like, he's going in the Andrea Lee category, where I'm like, I'm a fan of this man. I want to trust him with my money. I recognize that he's undervalued, and yet somehow all he does is cost me. So I got to just wave the white flag at a certain point with this guy. You know what I mean? My guy, Dan Tom, what's going on? Respect, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Good to see you. All right, everybody, let's keep it rolling. We've got some more fights to talk about. Speaking of Andrea KGP Lee, we have her up in the next fight here. We've got Andrea KGB Lee taking on JJ Aldrich. Both women weighed in at 126 pounds. JJ Aldrich, as you can see, no real problems. Got her little smirk, that little one-arm flex. Really not a problem for her. She's used to this. I think she could maybe even consider dropping a weight class realistically, but she's pretty thick. Look at that bicep. She's got some size on her. Andrea Lee, she's more of the tall, skinny, slim type. A little bit more fit, it looks like, and it looked like she was fine as well. Business as usual when these two face off. I mean, the angle kind of messes with this a little bit. The hat kind of messes with this a little bit. I think Andrea is just ever so slightly the larger person, but it's really hard to tell with the way they're standing and with the way the angle was for the camera and for the photo. So let's just say they size up pretty well. Why don't we? Guys, this number is starting to move all week long. Absolutely everybody and their mother has been all in on JJ Aldrich, laying minus 200. She's obviously going to win. Andrea Lee's on a 5-fight skid. And now all of a sudden on Friday, the eve of UFC Vegas 103, the number starts dropping. Somebody somewhere is betting on Andrea Lee. And I told you guys on Monday that realistically, I'm picking Andrea Lee to win this fight. And I got called out for it. All right. Some people in my chat were like, bro, you're really going to tell us that Andrea Lee is going to win this fight and you're not going to bet it? And I'm sitting here like, oh God, like the shame of outright picking an underdog and then not putting my money on her to win the fight. You guys, Andrea Lee is struggling right now. And I actually did some digging. I went back and I listened to like some of her interviews and stuff like that. And it's a little bit frustrating because she doesn't seem to think that she's doing anything wrong. She was doing an interview with this guy. And he was like, have you thought about changing it up? Have you thought about getting some kind of help? And she immediately was like, the only thing I can do differently is get like a sports psychologist. And I'm not doing that if that's what you mean. I don't need help like that if that's what you mean. Like she got like real weird defensive about that, and he didn't even say the word sports psychologist. Like she put that out there and then got angry at it, and he didn't even say a damn thing about it. So like a little bit of a red flag to me there. Also a bit of a red flag that you look at her Instagram And like everything she's posting, she's like one of those Instagram moms that sells like makeup products. Like she's full on like MLM multi-level marketing at this point. There's no training footage. There's no sparring footage. Like there's maybe one or two like TikTok style, like less than 60-second clips of her like punching mitts or a bag or something like that. I don't even know if she has a gym right now. Like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know where she's training. She keeps saying, I'm not doing anything differently. It's like, well, chick, you're on like a 5-fight losing streak. Maybe you should do something a little bit differently. So, oh, I am struggling so hard with this fight. The late move after everybody's attitude, everyone's opinion, all the money coming in on the favorite. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see some dog money poke up is like, even if Andrea Lee has phoned it in, even if she's completely phoned it in, she's not doing anything differently, she has an athletic advantage over JJ that I think could be the difference in this fight. Like this is got split decision written all over it. And we just saw Angela Hill get her first ever split decision. Like Andrea Lee is due for a split decision. You know what I'm saying? And if this fight's going to split decision at plus 180, that's the betting side, you guys. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. That's the betting side. Like, so it's dog or pass. I still haven't bet it. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. I literally cannot stand losing another cent on Andrea Lee because I think 4 out of the 5 fights that she's lost, I've had money on. The only one I think I didn't actually bet her in was the Miranda Maverick fight because I knew she was going to get taken down and rinsed in that fight. And frankly, both split decisions I think should have gone her way. So I'm like real PTSD about Andrea Lee at this point. I need to hear what you guys are doing here in the chat. Shout out my guy, Andrew. What is going on? $2 donation. Thank you very much, my friend. As you guys may not have realized, now we're on my channel here. This is a good way to support me if you want to. Everything comes in through my channel now. I don't have a sponsors channel or anything like that, so it doesn't disappear to somebody else. So thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate the support, my guy. You are the best. And of course, anybody who donos gets priority shout out on that kind of stuff as well. Appreciate you, DJin Kid, in the chat. Yeah, Pin DJin, that seems to be she's got a type. Seems to be she's got a type. Oh, see, Chris, my guy Dixon Cider saying to trust your balls. Oh my Lord. And that's yeah. I mean, this is exactly a trust your balls kind of spot. It just, how many times do you go back to the well just whiffing before I can't take, you know, what's that? There's that video clip of like that old Asian guy where someone's just like, he's like a monk and someone's like repeatedly kicking him in the balls. That's me. If I put a bet on Andrea Lee this week, that is me. Just stiffen up, get in the pose and pray. Like, get to your happy place. Oh, because that's what it's going to feel like if she loses another split decision. Shout out Benjamin. What's going on? Says first time catching it live. What's going on? Love to see it. Thank you for being here live. Appreciate you. All right, guys, let's move it right along. It's like I said, it's Andrea Lee or nothing for me, unfortunately, very much unfortunately. Next up, we have an unfortunate cancellation here. As you can see, De Silva, 40 years old De Silva, looks like somebody took a freaking vacuum to his eyes and sucked those things out. You can see his skull. Look at that. Like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull standing up here weighing in. No wonder they called the fight. Unfortunately, that one is off. So the next fight that's up is going to be Lucas Almeida and Danny De Silva. Almeida, it's interesting, guys, because he missed weight. He came in at 148 pounds, and he does not look like a man who missed weight to me. He looked fine up there. There's nothing too sucked out. Mouth wasn't hanging open. Eyes aren't cloudy. He's not blinking. Like, he doesn't look like he's struggling at all. So he must have had to stop for some reason, obviously, but looks fine to me. And then his opponent here, we have got Silva, who, my Lord, look at this man. He should join the other Silva as far as the way he looks. Danny is in trouble. He is feeling it today. He's fighting up there for his life. Look at how sucked out his face is, and he can't even manage a smile. If you watch the video, huge blinks. I talk about that a lot, that it's like sensitivity to light. When these guys get dehydrated, when they suck themselves down to this point, massive sensitivity to light. This guy's going through it. And then when we see the face-off, holy crap. Like, Almeida is massive. Almeida is so much bigger than his opponent here, and Silva did not look okay at these face-offs. He did do the throat slash and then kind of walked off the stage, but he never once even inched towards any kind of a smile. Like, he is going through it right now. So I'm actually pretty happy with my position here on this one, you guys. On Monday, we talked about betting violence in this spot. I laid minus 140 for fight doesn't go the distance. Money came in on that under, and the under 2.5 is minus 125. That fight doesn't go the distance is as high as minus 185 in some places. Violence all day, especially you guys. You know what? I don't know if it warrants the tinfoil cap, but we're going for it, especially seeing the kind of shape that Danny Silva is looking. He's the smaller man. He walks in face first, looking for damage and leaving his chin hanging out there, relying on that durability. When you look the way he did at face-offs, that durability ain't going to be there. That's not going to bail you out if you catch a big right hook. He's in trouble tomorrow if he gets into his usual gunfight. And frankly, I don't think he can grapple to a win here against this guy. So I think this is going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be kill or be killed for both men. I like my fight doesn't go the distance. That is absolutely the bet. But I'm kind of leaning towards the underdog at this point, you guys. I don't want to lay minus 250 on Danny Silva, who's semi-unproven still at this point in his UFC career, and especially looking in the kind of shape that he is. Violence is the way to go, you guys. Violence is straight up the way to go in this spot. But I actually think that Danny Silva is in for a rough night. I think Lucas Almeida might be the bet, and he's a plus 205 underdog right now. This is the kind of nasty, greasy, grimy card where one of these underdogs, not one of these dogs, more than one of these underdogs tends to come through and cause a bit of a problem. Yeah. Give me violence. Give me violence all day. And I love my bet from earlier in the week at this point. There's nothing else I need to do. I might throw one unit on the dog here at plus 205 just because of him having that size advantage and the way his opponent looked. I can see him landing with big power in this spot. And I'm not even sure that Danny Silva's real. Like, straight up, I'm not sure he exists. I'm not a believer. No, I really don't know if he's quite ready for this level. Like, I know he's Cub Swanson's guy, but everything I've seen from him on tape is just pure chaos. Get in the pocket, trade, swing, hope your durability holds up. And he only has a win over Josh Kalibau, who's since been released from the organization and goes to split decision with everybody. Like, I'm not sure he's ready for a slugfest with a guy like Almeida that's got power like that. So, dog or pass. Betting violence. Andrew saying this card blows. It does, Andrew. It does. But you know what? I will always vouch for MMA versus no MMA. Like, if we've got a Saturday afternoon, we're sitting around and I've got to decide between college basketball and a couple people punching each other out in the alley, I'm going to go back out in the alley. Like, that's just how I'm wired. I'm going to go watch people hitting each other in the face. So I will take any MMA, even if we've lost a couple fights, even if it's low level, even if Cody Brundage is a co-main event, I'm still going to watch that card before I go out and watch some basketball or anything like that. So, let's get after it anyway, right? Next fight up, you have got Chepe Mariscal taking on Ricardo Hamos, 146 pounds for both men here. And look at my guy. Look at my guy, Chepe. Just absolutely staring down the cameras, intense, feeling himself, looking good on the scales. Didn't miss weight this time, filled out nicely. I like everything I see from Chepe on the scales this time. Dude looks solid. Ricardo Hamos, he's always a bit on the skinnier side, so, not a whole lot to critique here or anything like that. He looks fine. No issues. Weighed in. No problems. These two face off, and as you would expect, Ricardo Hamos is slightly the taller fighter, but there is a thickness difference between these two men. Chepe definitely has the, thicker bulldog style build, thicker neck, thicker shoulders. Look at the back. I mean, so it's tall and skinny versus short and wide, and that's just kind of how this one sizes up, and that's how I pictured it in my brain before we got to this one as well. Guys, Chepe is my anchor. Chepe is my anchor this week. I locked in my anchor parlays, and for those of you who don't know, what that means is you take your most confident pick, you take your favorite person to win on the entire card, and you tie them to your other bets. Basically, you pretend like that fighter just doesn't exist, and you're going to get a better number on everything else you play. It is bad gambling theory. I fully admit to that being the case, but basically, as long as your anchor comes through, and they've come through more often than not for us, you get a better line on everything else that you bet on. It is a high risk, high reward, potentially stupid way of betting, and it's something I don't take lightly. It is not something I do very often. Let me get my numbers here for you because I've got them, and I'm trying to find them real quick. We are 5-1 We have only had 6 anchors over the course of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Count them 6. And we are looking to make that 6-1. As long as Chepe gets the win on Saturday, we are good to go. And Chris says, dumbest strategy ever. And yeah, it might be. It might be, but it's 5-1. So we're going to work with it. The one that loses can set you back a little bit. But as long as it keeps on hitting and we pick our spots very carefully and we get those dubs on the anchors, it's going to be something long-term that we can do, that we make work. I think Chepe is going to TKO this guy with leg kicks. I mean, Josh Kalibau damn near did that in the first 2-3 minutes of the fight. Ricardo Hamos was looking for the door. He was ready to give up. He was ready to throw in the towel. And that's against Josh Kalibau. Chepe, who trains with Justin Gaethje at elevation, like this guy is going to do so much worse to him than that. Now, I don't know that it's going to be a round 1 TKO or anything like that. I actually think this fight could go a little bit longer, but the whole thing with Ricardo Hamos is in extended fights, he folds. Like, unless you just completely give him the opportunity, which again, we're talking about Josh Kalibau here, a guy who was doing, ballerina dances in the middle of the cage instead of fighting. Unless you give him on a silver platter the opportunity to work his way back into a fight, he just collapses on himself. Mental lapses, he gives up, he folds, he can get submitted, he leaves his neck hanging out there, he doesn't like getting hit. Like, all these things, Chepe is going to beat this guy up. Like, even if Chepe ends up getting taken down in round 1 and controlled or something like that, as long as he doesn't get submitted in the first round, he's going to beat up Ricardo Hamos for 15 minutes. And whether or not he TKOs him or gets a decision win by, 10-8 back-to-back rounds, I really think Chepe is the side here in this spot. He is one of the larger favorites on the board. It looks like some money has come in a little bit on Ricardo Hamos, which it kind of makes some sense with the line being as high as it was. But I still just think Chepe is going to end up winning this fight. Like I said, I'm calling for the leg kick TKO. That's how I think he gets it done. But don't count out him snatching a neck or something like that. The guy's got judo tosses. So if this thing gets into a grappling realm, he can definitely get on top of Ricardo Hamos. Hamos is very well known for leaving his neck out there. I ain't budging. We're going with Chepe as the anchor. Now, I've got 3 bets with the anchor, okay? Usually when I do the anchor, we're talking 5-6 bets, right? I'm spraying all over the card with everything I want. I am being a little bit more selective for this one. So it's Chepe tied to 3 other fighters. One of those was Montana De La Rosa. That leg is canceled. So I'm going to have 1 unit on Chepe at like minus 400 or something like that. The other 2 legs are later on in the card, but I'm not doing the full board with my anchor this week, just in case, because like I said, it's high risk, high reward. We don't necessarily have to like go balls deep on it where everything is tied, just in case. Nuclear option, if Chepe were to lose, I'm going to have a couple of things that don't have Chepe tied to them, like that under that I mentioned in the curtain jerker. That one does not have Chepe tied to it, so that's how we're going to do this thing. All right. Let's go. And yeah, see, Chris says 3 max anchored parlays sound somewhat reasonable. And yeah, Chris, see, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because the one time that we did get that L, it ruined the whole night, right? Because I had 5 bets that were just gone. And I actually did really well on those other picks that, like, yeah, it really stung to have it all go down on the one fighter. Now, like I said, the one fighter being the anchor, I'm 5-1 on those picks. So far, so good. It works, but I do still want to tone down on the volatility just a little bit. And I think that having 3 legs tied into the anchor makes some sense. We bring those numbers down. We get better numbers on the legs that we like, but then we free play a couple of these other spots by themselves, just in case. Just in case. Leave yourself a parachute, right? We always want to be able to yank that thing and survive if we're falling. All right, next up, Austin Lane came in at 249.5 pounds. Mario Pinto, who you see on your screen, came in at 246.5. And whoo, this kid is a soft body heavyweight. Look at that. I don't mind it. Like, he looks like he's got a good frame for the weight class. Doesn't look like he's filled out. Definitely doesn't have his man muscles just yet, but that'll come in time. That will come in time. His opponent, Austin Lane, one of these guys who, the way he's sitting in his shorts there, looks naked. he's hard to tell with all those tattoos all over him, but he's in very good shape. Looks like he's good and ready to go here. Austin Lane is a decent bit larger here than Mario Pinto, guys. He's a decent bit larger. Look at that. Very, very large, very intimidating. This is going to be an interesting fight because Mario Pinto's taken all the action. He's up over minus 530 at this point. He's now the biggest favorite on the board. And I have news from a little bird that a lot of these books are in trouble on the Mario Pinto side of things because money came in when they weren't expecting it to come quite so heavily. So they're going to be very liable in this spot. My guy Andrew let me know that they don't feel like they had that number where it was supposed to be, and bettors have just smashed the Pinto side. So they are big, big, big Austin Lane fans this week. I've seen some people talk about Austin Lane. I've seen some people make arguments for Austin Lane, and I can understand it. I get it. But at the same time, I just can't trust the guy's chin. Like, he blew my night up with Robelis to Spain last time, right? Let's just get that out there. He totally messed up my night because of the Robelis to Spain spot. But Robelis to Spain has absolutely no stand-up game, no grappling, no nothing, and didn't even throw. So because Austin Lane was able to get in on those takedowns without taking any damage, he was able to go ahead and win the fight. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against this Pinto kid. Pinto doesn't have the most volume in the world. He doesn't have the most power in the world, but what he does have is accurate hands. And if you know that Austin Lane is going to be shooting on double legs, if you know he's going to be desperate to get those takedowns, and it's not like he's some stellar wrestler or anything like that. It's not like he's going to chain attacks or work from the body lock, or you know what I mean? Like, he's going to come in and try and grab a single or a blast double from halfway across the cage. You know that's coming. All he's got to do is tag him once or twice, and I think that changes the entire course of this fight. I don't like the number at all, but I've got Pinto by KO. Now, I say I've got it. That's my pick, right? I'm selecting Pinto to win this fight. I do think he'll go ahead and get the knockout. However, I don't know that I'm betting it. Now, the Pinto KO would be the only way I could think about betting this fight, quite frankly. It's minus 150 for him to win by knockout, and I think that's the most likely method for him winning. If you want to even bet like the spread, just in case he gets to a decision somehow, because he's capable, minus 3.5 on Pinto is minus 320. Like, the books are telling you this thing is going the way of a knockout. And I do kind of agree here. Fight doesn't go the distance is minus 350. You know, if you want to get crazy, Austin Lane has got to win this thing via round 1 KO. I don't know if he's even going to go for that or by decision, which is 11-1. So those of you who are nuts enough to take Austin Lane in his last fight, if you want to plug your nose and go for it here, God bless you. I'm not going for it. Andrew Nance asking who missed weight. The only one who missed weight was Lucas Almeida, besides the cut fights. Everybody else is on point for the rest of the card. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Louis, don't remind me about Robelis. Don't remind me. Welcome, Josh from the future. He's going to go back and restart the show. Yeah, you'll get your shout out when you catch up to the live stream. Small World Lifters. Yeah, we lost 2. We lost 2 fights, unfortunately. Montana De La Rosa versus Luana Carolina is off. Luana Carolina, once again, struggling to make weight, could not manage it. They called the fight. And then Silva and Sexy Mexi is off the card because old man Silva, unfortunately, was having a tough time. So we lost 2. 10 fight card, unfortunately. Bummer. All right, guys. Next fight on the docket is going to be Danny Barlow and Sam Patterson. My guy, Sam Patterson, look at him at 170 pounds. You just look at him. Look at the 8-pack. He looks so good up there. Oh, 170 doing a body good. This guy made a good decision to move up a weight class. And then his opponent here, left-handed god Danny Barlow, looks fine. You know, no issues. Same as always. Now, these two face off, and look at this ridiculousness. Danny Barlow is supposed to be like a decent-sized guy for this weight class, and my man Patterson coming up a weight class is still the larger human being. Very respectful face-off. These guys both know what they're in for. This is a prospect fight, you guys, and that's something that I think not enough people are really talking about. There is absolutely nothing that says my guy Sam Patterson can't win this fight. Now, I know we've all talked about the durability to death on this guy. He was cutting himself down to 150 pounds. That definitely was taking stuff out of him. Obviously, look how large he is at 170 pounds. He's the bigger man here. And everyone also is talking like Danny Barlow is just the slickest striker on God's green earth. You guys go back and watch the tape. Like, that left hand is nasty. Don't get me wrong. He's a good striker. He's coming along, but he's still very, very green. He's still very loopy. And when he was fighting Josh Quinlan was tagging him. Like, he's not very defensively sound. Quinlan was landing on this guy with regularity in that fight. I am not convinced that Danny Barlow is the guy. I said I think Danny Barlow probably catches Sam and knocks him out. I think the under 1.5 is probably a good bet here at Pick'ems, just because whoever wins it probably gets the finish. I am eyeballing Sam Patterson inside the distance or by sub. This guy is not a one-dimensional submission guy. He's actually a pretty good striker himself. The grappling of Danny Barlow is something that is still very, very much up in the air. We've not seen very much of him on the ground or grappling in general. So I could see this fight hitting the mat, whether it be a knockdown or Sam actually just kind of being able to like drag him to the floor or even jump on his back. Like these jiu-jitsu guys, they get tricky. They jump all over you. They hang on you. They grab an ankle. They do whatever it takes to get the fight to the floor. And Sam is a guy who usually knocks people to the floor. Like he has big power. He's got long limbs. He knows how to use them. He's just got to watch that tall man's defense, avoid that left hand. I am so tempted to ride with my guy Sam Patterson. Like I'm really, really tempted to ride with Sam Patterson. I'm still sticking with picking Danny Barlow to go ahead and win the fight. But like I was the guy who called, dog of the week, Sam Patterson. We've cashed his sub prop in back-to-back fights because we knew he was going to be undervalued his last couple of times out. And now I'm sitting here when he's got a big plus 250 next to his name going, do we go back to it? Do we go back to it? Like, I'm so tempted to go back to my guy, Sam Patterson. He's already paid us out with back-to-back round one subs. I think he can do it again. I'm worried about that left hand. Danny Barlow is a guy who's fast. He's athletic. He's also getting better. So I could see him clipping this dude early. But if it becomes a dogfight, like what if he doesn't land the left hand clean right away? Like this thing becomes a dogfight and then it gets close. He fought close with Nikolai Veretnikov. He's already broken his arm a couple of times in the UFC. I am so tempted, you guys. From a betting perspective, I do think it's going to be dog or pass, but I think under 1.5 might be the best way to approach it. And I actually thought about, you guys, I thought about anchoring fight doesn't go the distance on this one. Rather than picking a side, rather than picking a fighter, I thought about just saying, you know what? Sam Patterson and Danny Barlow, that fight ain't making it the full 15 minutes. It's minus 450. That is anchor pricing. I could see adding a violence bet, maybe doing a 2-leg parlay with fight doesn't go the distance or something like that at minus 450. I'm going to still you guys you can see the pain on my face. I want to pick Sam Patterson so badly right now. And something's still just kind of telling me that I need to lay off a little bit, but this price is really enticing to me. So I do think it's dog or pass from a money line perspective. That's what I'll say. We'll see. We'll see, because I'm still going to do a little bit of work tonight on this. I will obviously post my plays, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you guys can find me. As always, I'll let you know what I end up doing on this one, but I'm very, very tempted to just ride or die with my guy, Sam Patterson. The last time I had this kind of an issue where I really felt conflicted like this, it was Bilal Muhammad and DDP. Like, I'm not saying Sam Patterson is Bilal or DDP, right? Like, I'm not saying he's necessarily that caliber of a fighter. But when I saw like a really mangy underdog that I was like, doesn't matter, betting them every time. Those two are the ones that come to mind, right? Them and my guy C-Rod. It's turned out so far, like these ride or die guys have been doing pretty well for me when they're underappreciated like that. I don't know. I might end up going for it, but I'm probably going to put the sub in the sub special, right? That'll be a leg submission. Sam Patterson. Why not? How could you not at this point? D, what's up, buddy? We are in fact live. Appreciate you being here for the show. All right, let's get it moving. Next up, Haider Amil taking on William Gomis. Look at Gomis up there. Look at this kid puts a muscle on. Look at that. He looks fan-freaking-tastic. Impressive. Good work on you there, Gomis. His opponent, Chad Dom Cruz, Haider Amil. The chin on this man. My goodness. People pay for that shit. Like, people pay to get their faces sculpted to look like this, man. Big height difference here. William Gomis, obviously the taller, larger fighter. There is another physicality difference, though, where Haider Amil, quite obviously the more physical looking of the two, a little broader, a little thicker, Look at the look on Haider Amil's face here. Look at that. That's the looking down at your opponent when you're the shorter fighter. Like, even though he has to look up at Gomis, that's the what you gonna do, bro face. Like, he is so high on himself, which undefeated, all those finishes, hard to argue with. I'm picking Gomis to win this fight, you guys. He is a weasel, and he knows how to win, and he finds ways to win, and he's getting better, and he's younger. And there's just something about Haider Amil that I'm just not 100% sold on. I've seen him lose position so many times. And I talked about this on the Monday show, where when he grapples, he gets so aggressive going for submissions and for offense, which you want to see, generally speaking, right? You want your opponent to do damage, to score, especially when you're talking about grappling where it's being kind of disrespected in 2025. That's good. But he does it so forcefully that he ends up falling off. And against someone like Gomi, who's larger than him, who's younger than him, who we can see making big leaps of improvements in short periods of time, I just think that right there is recipe for disaster. He could end up being, tired and then on the feet when he had a grappling advantage against this guy because he falls off of a position because he got a little too over aggressive going for something. So I'm going to pick William Gomi to win this fight, probably via decision. I actually don't mind. I'm going to switch out hats here for just a second. No confidence here, you guys, not like uber confident here in this one. But when you see these young type of kids, especially someone who's a kickboxer like William Gomi, they work real hard to catch up where they've been weak before, right? So his grappling is something that's come a long way. And he fought Yo Anderson Brito in his last fight. He got taken down by Yo Anderson Brito. He got mauled by Yo Anderson Brito. And I think that's an area of focus for him. I could see him catching a tired Haider Amil with a sub and Gomi by sub in round 3. I'm seeing 75-1. Like, could you imagine if Gomi doesn't go away and Haider punches himself into cardiac arrest and then looks for a level change and just leaves his neck hanging out there with this tall, lanky, spindly bastard? I'm just saying I could see it. That might be worth just the babiest of sprinkles, the round 3 sub at 75-1. I need to do some research and see if we can find any visual evidence of Gomi making any kind of grappling progress whatsoever, because that's really all I need, you guys. If I can find any training videos or anything like that showing him working that grappling rather than just working his kickboxing, then I will probably be talked into something like that. Now, from what I understand, he trains with guys like, oh my Lord, I am blanking on his name. Cyril Gane. Whoa, that was close. He trains with guys like Cyril Gane, who's well known for his heel hook attacks. So we know these guys have that opportunistic upside when it comes to their submissions, even though they're primary strikers. So I'm just saying, little crazy. I'll give you that, but I'm just saying. All right, let's see. Cade says that Haider's a meme finisher and Gomi will make him look goofy. Entirely possible. Very much entirely possible. Nonstop Feelings saying, wouldn't you say Gomi is similar to Leon before he learned how to wrestle? Yeah. I mean, probably very similar striking style. You know what? Without the power, though, he's more of a decision guy. I guess technically Leon probably is too, but Leon's at least got that big head kick that he likes to uncork. We haven't seen that kind of power from Gomi. Now he's young, so maybe that's something coming around the corner. There's a chance we'll see that soon. But yeah, I mean, kind of a stretch of a comparison there to Leon Edwards. Paint a Ball, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for being here and appreciate you tuning in. Small World Lifter saying pass, don't bet, surrender merchants. Fair enough. Average Marvel says that Gomi's looking hungry, has that good energy. I agree. And Andrew, I appreciate you and everybody else watching. You guys, we've got over 300 live viewers right now. If you wouldn't mind, hit the like button for me. Would go a long way. Dixon saying, Clint, to be fair, I think more like Gane being known for his heel hook. I think it's Dante Almeida that's being known for getting heel hooked, and that's fair enough, man. That is absolutely fair enough, Dixon, because that man never met a heel hook that he didn't like. All right. Next up, Nasrat Hackpras takes on Esteban Ribovics. Both men come in at 156 pounds. I will say my guy Esteban looks a little bit rough. You can see the skull popping out on the side of his head there a bit, but you know what? He was all smiles. He moved well. He seemed cheery. That's the kind of guy that it's I think this is just kind of how he's built. That's how his face looks. So I think he's okay. Eyes are obviously bright and full. His opponent, on the other hand, we've got the sunglasses, which is a big no-no. Thinking he looks cool up there. A little more short, little more squat. Looks like he's in decent enough shape. We'll give him a break. Look at the size difference. My God, you guys, This is the one that kind of blew me away because in my head, Esteban Ribovics is a short, stocky power puncher. Esteban Ribovics is a guy who's going to come forward and need to bang it out with you and work to get his way into range. And that's just, I thought they were going to size up really well. I thought they were going to size up and be very, very similar. Turns out Ribovics is huge and he's way bigger than this man. Now, Esteban is one of the guys who I have in my anchor parlays. So we do have a two-legger going from my guy Chepe to my guy Esteban, and I love that parlay. I am very excited about that parlay. I actually think Esteban can win this fight via finish. I like Esteban by KO. We have seen not once but twice Nasrat Hackpras getting opportunities where he's trying to take a step up in class, going into the deep end, and he's failed on both of those. Whereas Ribovics has been improving every single time we've seen him. They've put him in tough spots. He went into enemy territory at Noche UFC and overcame a ton of physical problems where he was fighting a guy much taller, much longer than him. He got chin checked. He went a hard 15 minutes. I mean, this guy has really been audited and checked out on every single level. And then don't even talk to me about the Terrence McKinney head kick. I mean, Terrence is a flaky round one or bust type of fighter, but usually he gets knocked out when he's tired. This kid knocked him out clean when he was fresh. He's got serious finishing power. I love Esteban, and I really think this is a spot where the UFC is kind of giving him that, okay, kid, you know, you earned your shot, kill what you eat. And they're putting him up against somebody who's been around for a long, long time. And I think he's going to show out. I like Esteban to win this thing, probably by knockout, really. Could be a high-paced volume fight, but we have seen the Nasrat Hackpras durability just be kind of getting chipped away at his last couple fights. You know, Gordon knocking you around on the feet and hurting you and rocking you in that kind of fight. That's a big no-no to me. Gordon shouldn't be hurting anybody in boxing range that way. So the fact that he was doing that to Nasrat, I think this kid is going to do a lot more damage once he starts landing. So I got Ribovics. I think it's Ribovics by round 2, round 3 TKO. I like those props. You know, it's plus 275 for the knockout. We're riding Ribovics, and he's in a 2-leg parlay for me just in case he makes it the full 15 minutes because Nasrat is a bit of a decision merchant. You know, he's a guy that likes to go the full 15, so I could see this fight getting extended, especially if Ribovics is not able to find that kill shot. It could go a little bit longer, but either way, I think he gets his hand raised. All right, guys, co-main event of the evening. You have got Cody Brundage taking on the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez. 186 pounds for both men here, and Julian Marquez, big old hairy man, no issues really making weight for him. Looks like he's never missed a day. We've got new haircut Cody Brundage. Obviously took a trip out to Turkey. I feel like they shorted him here a little bit. That hair is a little, I don't know, there's something unnatural about it. It's a little out of place on his head. I feel like, is it too far down? Like, did they give him too much hair? Is that possible? I don't know. It looks a little off to me here. I'd be asking for a refund. They size up, not super great. I wasn't really expecting the Cuban Missile Crisis to be the larger man here. Marquez is a decent bit larger. You can see it in the shoulders. You can see it in his back. Now, this one gets interesting. This one very realistically deserves the tinfoil cap, you guys, because I did all the deep dive on this one. I was listening to all the interviews on this one. And Cody did an interview where he's talking about he was done. After his last fight, he hung it up. He's like, I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to be out of here. I'm not fighting anymore. And his coaches felt like he had more left to give. So they brought him in to like be an assistant coach and be helping around the gym and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of slowly started to like get him back to the point where he felt like he wanted to do the damn thing again. But frankly, guys, he's on this terrible skid in the UFC where the only wins he has are disqualifications or memes. And this guy was ready to hang it up after getting his head blown up by Abdulrazak Al Hassan. So he retired. He's working with a concussion specialist. So he had multiple concussions and they were worried about his health. He already talked about wanting to step away because he's worried about the ongoing long-term effects of those concussions. So like all of this is red flags. Like I love when fighters are honest because sometimes they say things they shouldn't. This is the kind of thing that goes, I don't think Cody's here for a real second run at this thing. I mean, maybe he is, but I do not believe that he is really going to suddenly be a new man once he gets in there. I can see this man just kind of folding over at the first sign of adversity. He already did that to some respect, right? But the fact that he's now straight up said, I'm done with this, I'm going to retire, and his coaching staff kind of coaxed him into coming back one more. He's also at Factory X, a gym that is completely fallen apart. A lot of people have left the gym. I'm not even sure what's left there for him as far as like bodies to train with and stuff like that. So like, I don't know what the environment looks like anymore, whereas it used to be an elite gym with a lot of people that you could work with. It's tough right now. And I know a lot of people seem to think that Cody Brundage is the side this week. This line is creeping towards pick'em. Money has been coming in on the Brundage side all week, and it's officially pick'em. This line is officially pick'em. So Cody Brundage has been the dog all week, and we now have a pick'em on fight day with Julian Marquez finally getting towards that minus 110 number. Now, Julian Marquez, similarly, did an interview, and the difference was night and day, you guys. Cody's like, yeah, I gave up. Yeah, I was ready to be done. Yeah, I was ready to retire. And Julian Marquez goes, you know what? He's my friend. We trained together. We've done work together. But this is about putting food on the table. This is me versus him. I like my job. I want to have a job. I'm going to go out there and do what I have to do. It's like one of these guys is like, yeah, and the other guy is like, no, I'm going to go get this. Like, that is a huge motivational difference here to me. I know Julian Marquez is older. I am very much worried about his chin. But you look at the names he's been fighting, and it's Gregory Rodriguez, Marc-Andre Barrios. Like, the Zach Reese one is not great, but he did just get caught. This is MMA after all. Marc-Andre Barrios and Gregory Rodriguez would absolutely school Cody Brundage. And that's not even something anybody can try to debate. I've been the guy playing the round one KO, TKO, or DQ prop on Cody Brundage. I've been doing it for years now. We spam it, right? That's it. We keep getting paid on it because he takes those DQs or he wins by round one finish. That's just how it goes. But when you see this guy get any kind of adversity where he doesn't get that finish early on, he just folds over himself. I really think that Julian Marquez, especially seeing the size difference, is going to get back to his old ways here, where if he just takes one or two shots, he's going to be the one who hangs around. Whereas when Cody takes one or two shots, he's going to jump Gilly or he's going to cover his head. And I think Julian Marquez is going to choke this guy out. I really think that Marquez is the rightful favorite in this spot. I'm glad I stayed off it early on in the week when, like everybody else, whiplash, I went, yeah, of course it's Cody. It's never Cody. Like, it's never Cody. Unless Julian gets knocked out on like the first punch, I just don't see Cody being able to hang with this guy on the feet. And then when they get on the ground, we have seen Cody play off his back, cover up, and give up. I think Julian Marquez is going to club and sub this guy. I think Cody Brundage is going to be shooting for his life. And especially considering there is that little bit of a relationship there. We see guys who like each other, who are friends, who train together. They don't necessarily want to hurt each other. And when that happens, I love to look for the sub and the decision props. Now, these guys are going out there to save their jobs. So I'm not going to look at the decision side of things because I don't think it's going to last that long. Both their fighting styles, their durability, and what's on the table, I just think they're going to need a finish. And I think they're not going to want to see blood all over their buddy's face. So you go for the sub. I think Julian Marquez is going to sync up a submission in round 2 in this fight. Minus 110. I'm getting tempted. I'm going to just sit tight and see if I actually get a plus next to Julian Marquez's name. I'm a little disappointed at the numbers here because the submission prop is like plus 250. It should be so much better than that. Like, it really should be better than that. And then the sub 2 and sub 3 props are 11-1 and 22-1. The problem is it probably happens early. So it's either the end of round 1 or early round 2 where this thing happens. So the sub round 2 at 11-1 definitely has my attention. And then just the sub prop by itself at plus 250 probably has some kind of value to it. So yeah, we're going Julian Marquez this week, you guys. I have not bet it yet. I've been watching the market very, very closely, and we'll see if I can go ahead and get a plus next to Julian Marquez's name. We'll see if it gets there or not, and then I'll make a decision as to how I'm approaching it. But it is no longer Brundage or pass. It is Marquez or pass. Main event time, everybody. Asu Elmabayev getting a big-time step up here against Manel Kape. Look at this dude. Look at this little guy. Look how thick he is. My boy Asu is in shape. Now his opponent, Manel Kape, absolutely zoned in. Solid flex. Got the abs going. Looks fantastic, which That's always been really the big question with Manel Kopp is he's got these struggles. He misses weight. We've had fights canceled. It's been a problem. He came out and he made a statement that he's been like very active regarding his weight, his walking around weight. He's making sure he's slimmed down very naturally, so he's not going to have as much struggle on the scale in general moving forward. And I think that might be kind of the missing piece of the puzzle here. Manel Kopp 2.0, if you will. Manel Kopp is the larger man, taller slightly. As you can see when they're standing next to each other, Asu Almabayev is a little bit wider, and he's got such a big old thick flex on him. It's easy to be intimidated by this kid. I really still have to go with Manel Kopp, you guys. It's Starboy Fight Week. You guys know I bet on him to be champion of this weight class last year. I chickened out. I didn't go back to that bet this year. I bet him in his last fight, and that went pretty well. But this spot with Asu Almabayev, Asu's my guy, and I've been betting on Asu, so it kind of killed me a little bit to bet the Manel Kopp side of things here. But I love the wrestling ability of Manel Kopp. Asu Almabayev did not impress me in his last fight. In fact, he scared me. I thought he was going to absolutely roll through Mateus Nicolau. Nicolau's got no chin. That fight ended up being very boring, where he looked like he was scared to engage. And the one time they did engage, because of the chin issues, Mateus Nicolau got dropped, and that swung the whole round. That swung the whole fight. Besides that, it was really a pretty competitive fight because he was too scared to do anything. Now imagine you get in there with Manel Kopp, a guy who doesn't have chin issues. You're not going to get that drop. You're not going to get that knockdown. And you've got 5 rounds to deal with this guy. I think a lighter Manel Kopp, we're going to see hit that flow state that he likes to get into a little bit easier. We saw that in his last fight with Bruno Silva, where he really got going well. And this guy doesn't show signs of slowing down later in the fight. Muhammad Mokaev, I talked about this, you guys. He cheats left, right, and all over. That's how he won that decision. There were so many fouls. Manel Kopp absolutely had a legitimate gripe to make after that fight when he was talking about how he cheated, because Muhammad Mokaev cheated every way possible in that fight. Never got a point deducted or anything like that for it, which was a little bit unfair to Manel Kopp. This is a 25-minute fight where Asu Almabayev is not known for playing those cheeky things. He's not known for cheating that way. I think eventually at some point he's going to get stuck on the feet with Manel Kopp, and he's not going to do well in that circumstance. And I actually think that Manel Kopp can submit this guy. We have seen Asu Almabayev in sketchy positions in his grappling before, and I've talked about Manel Kopp's underrated submission game before as well. So I don't mind a sneaky little poke on the 10-1 Manel Kopp by sub. I'm going to be playing the late round props on this one, you guys. Round 3, round 4, round 5 for Manel Kopp, and he is the second leg of my anchor parlays. So the 2 anchor parlays that I've got is Manel Kopp and Esteban Ribovics. They are tied to my freaking guy Chepe. And then I'm going to sprinkle the round 3, 4, and 5 props for Manel Kopp because I think he gets a late finish, but I'm not going to rule out the sub. Like, everything says this probably should be a knockout, right? But I actually think there's like an outside shot that he finds a way to a sub, especially if Asu is like panic shooting or if he gets clipped and hurt and then has to go for a submission or a grappling attempt, something like that. I don't know if I want to just go ship it on the like sub 3, sub 4, sub 5 props, because I've done that before and been on the wrong side of it where like you end up getting the knockout or whatever that you were looking for. So I don't want to miss on the long shot prop, even those numbers are very, very enticing. But I think it's going to be Manel Kopp inside the distance, you guys. That's the Undefeated post weigh-in show, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate you guys. Do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out if you don't mind. We'll see you Monday, of course, for the Die Hard MMA podcast. I hope you guys absolutely smash it tomorrow at UFC Vegas 103. I hope this show helps you find your way to some valuable bets and just be good, you guys. The world is kind of chaos right now. Absolutely everything is flying all over the place. I want to just stress, remember bankroll management. Like, we're here for a good time. It's only money. You know, some people can say that, other people can't. Like, bet within your means, please. It's very, very, very important that you guys do not overextend and dig yourselves in some kind of a hole. Do not panic and chase. Be sure you're managing your money appropriately. This is for fun. If you're a very serious bettor and you've got the bankroll to appropriately go out there and take heads and make your living, then God love you. I am impressed and I'm happy for you. But for everybody else, don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Grow your bankroll very naturally. Make sure you don't put yourself in a position where it's going to hurt you long term, and everybody keep a cool head out there. Lots of people getting crazy, lots of people saying stuff. Sometimes it's best to just keep your mouth shut and walk away. Even a fool can appear smart when he is silent. Thank you guys very much once again for all the love and support. We'll see you soon. Let's roll.